So now I want to talk a little bit about Huawei.
Yeah, tell
First of
me.
all, did you hear about the Canadian in China being put on death row for drugs this week?
Yeah, that happened just I believe on Monday or yesterday. It could have happened on the weekend. So, this guy is by no means an innocent fellow. He's claiming he's innocent, and his lawyer claims that there's not enough evidence to convict him. But he was convicted earlier in China, and I believe in 2016. He was arrested in 2014. So, he was convicted to 15 years in jail. And so he was appealing that sentence. And I think it was just bad timing because, of course, this is what everybody's talking about is, boy, it sure seems interesting that this Canadian, right when Meng Wanzhou, the CFO from Huawei, gets arrested in Canada, all of a sudden he goes from having 15 years to you're now on death row. And China doesn't mess around, Dan. Like
Oh,
if you're on death row in the United States, you're going to be decades until
yeah.
something happens, and most likely something won't happen.
And
Whereas
it's
in
chill.
China,
Usually they'll just inject you. It's not
yeah,
going to be like, a sword through the heart.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
in China, it can happen very fast. They
Oh,
say it can
man.
happen within 7 days of getting approval from the top courts, and so of course he's appealing it. And it could happen really fast. And imagine what that would do to international relations if they execute him. Now, this guy had been arrested in British Columbia, I believe, in 2012. So in 2012, he gets arrested for smuggling drugs and selling drugs. And I think he was on painkillers after breaking his arm and got addicted. And the judge actually said to him, "You're pretty lucky to live in this country." And then what does he do? He goes to China and starts selling
Oh,
drugs.
no. You should have listened to that judge.
Should have listened to that judge. So I'm not saying he's guilty, but things look like there is a pattern here. So I don't think anybody's really saying he's innocent other than himself and his lawyer. He claims that this criminal organization set him up. But I think what is going on here is China is using his case to kind of poke Canada for arresting Ming Wanzhou.
And I think he should use his $13 a month with his Netflix plan to watch Locked Up Abroad, to
Yeah.
watch all the other people that were bamboozled into smuggling drugs into China and were locked in Chinese prison.
I think he has the worst case situation where he's now on death row. Um, but also here's what's politically loaded about this. Usually when you appeal a sentence, they don't go higher, right? They have to consider perhaps a lesser sentence. And so that's why a lot of people are going, okay, this is politically motivated. No matter what the Chinese government says, it's politically motivated to poke Canada, to put pressure on Canada, and it has absolutely nothing to do with this individual and his situation.
So now I want to talk about the CEO of Huawei.
Yeah,
They
let's do it.
finally came out and said, we do not give China any of the private information from our phones. Which, is kind of nice to hear. Let me
But
read
do
you
you
what it
believe
says.
it?
I mean, let's talk about that in a minute. So
All right.
here's what the CEO says. It says, Huawei would never allow China's government to access customer data, even if Beijing requested it. The CEO and founder of the company repeatedly emphasized on Tuesday, amid continued political pressure on the Chinese technology giant. In a rare sit down with international media, the CEO, whose name is Ren Zhengafei, addressed concerns raised by the US government, which has warned that the company's equipment could allow the Chinese government to have a backdoor into the nation's telecom network. So Ren, speaking in Mandarin, and he did have a translator, told the group that Huawei has never handed data to Beijing. When it comes to cybersecurity and privacy protection, we are committed to be sided with our customers, they say. We will never harm any nation or any individual. So I think that's interesting. Also, another interesting thing that they brought up is that there is no law in China that requires any company to install a mandatory backdoor, which has actually been tried in the US. People have tried to make that a law,
Hmm.
especially after the terror attack in San Bernardino. Here's the really weird part, though. The CEO then praises Donald Trump. Hear this.
That is weird.
For
Well,
President
no,
Trump,
it's not. He's buttering him up.
I guess,
And he
yeah.
wants to sell the United States 5G technology. But keep going.
For President Trump as a person, I still believe he's a great president in the sense that he was bold to slash taxes. And I think that's conductive for the development of industries in the United States. So the CEO comes out and says that they've never had a backdoor, that they've never given, private data to the government. Do we believe them? Here's some reasons that maybe you don't want to believe them. Because the US has warned us about this company, and so they must have cybersecurity
Not just the
experts.
US. There are 7 countries that have all done research and investigation into this. So Canada, Britain, Australia, um, New Zealand. I'm trying to remember who all 7 are. We went through it in a couple podcasts before, and that organization, all of them warned it. And I think everybody except for Britain and Canada have said they're not going with Huawei for their 5G.
Yeah, there could be a Trojan horse. There could be something there that wasn't quite worded in his language that could still be there. And so, do I trust them? Not really. Do I have anything secret to hide? No. So I'd probably still buy a Huawei phone.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, I think Huawei is a great innovator. I love their phones. The cameras they put in them are top notch. I think to me, it comes down to a similar situation such as GPS. And I talked about this last week where the United States had a monopoly on GPS because it was their satellites that were in space. And so China didn't like the fact that they were reliant on American satellites. So they've now sent up their own satellites for GPS. Same with Europe. I think it comes down to the fact of, do you want to have something that is so critical to your infrastructure like 5G, where cars are going to be connected to it, and your pacemakers are going to be connected to it, your watch that's going to say you're having a heart attack is going to be connected to it. Do you want to put that kind of technology in the hands of a company that could be compromised by its government?